Amen. All right, good singing. So instead of announcements tonight, I'm going to address the donor issue that I mentioned, or that got brought up in Pastor Stuckey's sermon a few days ago, and that I also mentioned in the announcements on Sunday night. Again, I, like you, was shocked by all of this. I told you I would look on Sunday night, and I did, all right? And that's what I'm here to tell you this evening, what we found, all right? So let me just kind of go back to Sunday and kind of explain how that day went. So I started, and just a heads up, I haven't listened to all the sermons or especially any of the podcasts, but I have had people tell me the points that I need to know that are being said, and I have all the information that I need. But if there's some detail or something that was said there that that I haven't watched it all right? But we found out what the issue is, and that's what I'm here to tell you, all right? So Sunday, Brother Roger called me. I was actually being shown one of the clips that was, talking about me. And by the way, I'm going to keep the personal issues. This is just going to be very fact-based until towards the end. I'm going to get into a little bit of the personal things, all right, that I need to. But I was being shown the clips on Sunday after Sunday AM church, and Brother Roger called me on the phone. And I answered the phone, and I hadn't even really heard all the clips and the accusations of the missing money, the $115,000, I believe was the number. And that was, Brother Roger called me and told me the deal of 2022, which I brought up, all right, on Sunday night. And also, he was the source of that email that I was holding that had the deal and the details of the deals and things like that. All right, so I told you I'd look into it. Now I'm going to show you what we found from basically like Sunday to Monday. We kind of got it, okay? But we've been looking into more details, of course, over the last couple days as well. Let me just give you the timeline and tell you what's gone on since 2018. We're looking at 2018. There's kind of two chunks of time, 2018 to 2022, and then 2022 to today. All right, so it's kind of like after the deal in 2022, and then before the deal in 2028. I know I sound like Trump talking about the deal all the time, but that's not the intention. All right, the story aligns from what we see from 2018 to 2022. All right, and it aligns in the sense that all donations were kept and did not go to VBC Manila. All right, I'm going to give you the justification that Brother Roger told me. This is his justification. This is not my justification. It's that before 2022, and this also lines up, before 2022, the donations were less than the salary paid to Brother Stuckey at the time, who was an employee of the church. All right, he was an employee of the church until February 7th of this year. All right, so the justification for keeping the donations was that the donations were less than his salary. All right, not my justification, that's the justification given. I can tell you now that that is a problem, okay? And I want you to keep in mind the salary part, that he was an employee and that there was a salary being paid. All right, he was an accountant for the church. 2022 comes along. 2022, now the donations have risen to the point where they are passing the salary that is paid to still Brother Stuckey. He was ordained in I think September of 23. Don't quote me on that. And then there was so it was brought up that he should be getting some of the donations. A deal was struck. I don't even really care about the back and forth of the deal. However, it is important to note that, again, the salary was considered as part of that deal. Even the deal formulas had the salary in it, and the final 50-50 deal is what it turned out to just be 50-50. A donation comes in for VBC Manila, and look, we've added them all up. We've seen them all. We know exactly what they were labeled. The vast majority were labeled VBC Manila, and it was taken 50%, and 50% was sent, 50% stayed here, all right? The salary was considered. All right, why this is a problem, and that's what I'm going to explain to you, all right? Because, I mean, some people, a layman could say, well, that's, sounds okay or whatever, but it's a problem, and here's why it's a problem. And I'm going to use these terms because these terms are going to be important when I start to tell my perspective here in a few minutes. The church is a corporation. The pastor is the CEO of the corporation, the chief executive officer, and Pastor Stuckey is the CFO, the chief financial officer of this corporation. Keep that in mind. They struck a deal in 2022. I don't care why it was accepted or who negotiated what. Here's the problem. The salary of an employee is a church paying someone for a service. So if I pay Brother John to clean my car or do whatever, I pay him money and he does the labor or gives the service that I paid him for, that's a square deal. That's a done deal, okay? The problem is this agreement with the salary included did not consider the donor. This is the problem. The donor gives $1. I mean, look, unless otherwise stated, which we have not found this, okay? When a donor sends $1 to Missionary Ray in Kenya, he expects $1 to go to Missionary Ray in Kenya, unless it is noted somewhere that, and look, the charities note this, like 90% goes and 10% is administration fees. This was not noted. 50% would be large anyway. We've not seen that. We've not found that. Plus 50% would not be reasonable. This is a major problem. That's the brass tacks of it. Now, everybody's talking, and it's even been told to me that there's legal ramifications of this. Somebody personally sent me a message they're going to sue me personally. Stop, all right? It wasn't right. There's legality and there's morality in this world, and, morality always wins out. Like, we go with that one all the time. So we will fix it, period. Amen. And we reached out Monday, keep that day in mind, we reached out Monday saying this, that we will fix it. That we found, it wasn't, once you kind of had this formula, it wasn't that difficult to figure out that that wasn't the right way to do things. All right? Now, someone should have said something. Okay? It would have been nice, it would have been easier to remedy if it was brought up sooner. And only 2 people knew the details of this deal. This is important. And just I've run into this situation in my professional life several times. In a work situation, if you're asked to do something unethical, if you're asked to lie, if you're asked to do something that is against your conscience, you need to call those things out. I work in dangerous environments, and this applies to safety as well. The longer that those things go, the more difficult they are to remedy. In safety situations, literally if you let things go and things just slide, everybody's doing it that way, someone will die before it gets fixed. So that's just a little tidbit. Now I want to talk about this personally, from my perspective. I get a perspective here. I am extremely offended over this. Extremely offended. I'm not talking about the personal attacks, but this situation that I just brought up. And let me explain why. When I was asked, this was the question that was posed to me when the trustees first came to me. They asked me, is it in the realm of possibility that you would come and be the pastor of Verity Baptist Church? They didn't want an answer. They just asked, would it be possible? There was 5-6 days that went by before I said, yes, I will be the pastor of Verity Baptist Church. And in those 5-6 days, in the sermon, A Tale of Two Churches, I told you about talking to my family. I told you about talking to my church family. So in that time, I talked to my family, I talked to my church family. But what I didn't tell you is I was talking to the leadership of this church, and I was basically interrogating them for that entire time. And I was asking them things like the finances. I was asking them questions about the building. I was asking them questions about the resignation. I was asking them questions about are there lawsuits? Was anyone suing anybody? Was anyone blackmailing anybody? Was there extortion? I wanted to know what I was walking into. The finances, the building. What was I asking about the building? You know what I was asking about the building? You think I was asking about how much it was worth? No, I was asking, does it need a roof for 80 grand? The main question that I asked Deacon Oliver was, is it functional? Does it need a $60,000 air conditioner? I was asking about the finances to the church leadership who was reaching out to Stuckey, Pastor Stuckey, for answers at times. I asked enough questions. It was a little awkward because I had no authority here. I'm asking all these personal questions about the finances, but I was looking for liabilities. And I found enough about the bank accounts and about the the month-to-month budget that I realized there must be some debt somewhere, and I found that debt in a credit card before I even accepted the job. I knew that there was debt. It was small compared to this. Here's my point. This would have been nice to know. It's highly unethical that I was not told this. And any CFO, any chief financial officer would be fired over something like this. So I've endured personal attacks over this. People are blaming me for this. I've been accused of everything short of murder. No one here did anything wrong in this. No one in the church leadership, and dead sure nobody in the chairs here tonight. Any of the members of this church. We didn't break it, but we're going to fix it. And I'm going to explain to you how in just a few minutes. I've been ruthlessly attacked this week. My wife and I just don't go on YouTube anymore. Our family members see this stuff. People that aren't Christians see this stuff and like, who would want to be a Christian? That's what they think. Oh, Pozarnsky thinks he's perfect. No, watch this. I've been talking to another pastor. Communication hasn't been great between Pastor Stuckey and I over the last few days. I'll leave it there. I heard from another pastor that's a mutual friend of ours that it was said that when I let him go or fired him, as he said, I didn't care about his family. And I wrote him a message, and I said this. I said, if I came across to you that way, I'm paraphrasing, but I'll say it again. If I came across like I didn't care for his family to him, I clearly did not deliver that message well. And I'm sorry for that. I'm not sorry for the decision. But I'm sorry for the fact that I delivered it in a way that you thought that I didn't care about your family, your wife, and your children, and your situation. Will you do the same? That's a straight question right there. What about my family? This has been incredibly hurtful, yea, devastating for them. They all know you, Pastor Stuckey. My wife, my kids, they all know you personally. What about the families in this church? What about these kids in this church? People attacking their church, trying to damage it. Nobody here did this to you. You made this deal. And look, the buck stops with the pastor. I'm not blaming any victims here either. The buck stops with the pastor. If you would have come to me privately, as the Bible says that you should have, the result would have been exactly the same. I still care about your family. I will not attack you. I will not read personal messages that we have had together over the years. I will not return evil. To the Verity family, this will be fixed. I'm a donor. You say, how are we going to fix it? How are we going to fix it? Well, here's a couple ways we're not going to fix it. On Monday, there was 2 anonymous donors that were just going to pay for this and be done with it. That's the kind of people that are walking around among you. After prayer and consideration, I cannot preside over that. I am not going to take a special offering and have everybody throw in $1,000 or whatever, because I am not going to charge the people that were not considered. The major innocent party was the donor in this. So what are we going to do? How are we going to fix it? We're going to fix it by cutting expenses, and expenses that don't affect the church people. And it can be done. We're in a good position now. This won't hurt us. And I walked through this with the trustees last night, and I showed them that this won't hurt us because of the position that we're in now. The finances will be run well here. See, the trustees, them knowing things, it protects the pastor. I'm thankful for them. To Pastor Stuckey, reach out. Let's get it done. I've got some questions on some expenses, but other than that, our numbers, I'm not even willing to argue about the numbers, really. They seem to match. I got some questions about expense, and that's it. Reach out. Let's get it struck, and let's get this over with. To the church family, I'm sorry for what we've gone through with this. Just know that we're going to fix this. If you have questions, you can talk to me. Several of you have called me and encouraged me, and several of you have called me and asked questions. And if you call me and ask questions, I'd be a terrible spy. I'd tell you more than I probably should. But just call me. I'll tell you. I'll answer whatever questions that you have if I can answer them. And we're just going to do the right thing and go forward. That's it. It's pretty cut and dry when it comes down to that. Okay?